Welcome to Wind Tunnel TV for round number 8 of the Wind Tunnel Racing Series, live from Darlington Raceway in Darlington, South Carolina. I'm Jared Carr, joined in the booth tonight with Chris Spear. Chris, we're getting down to the final quarter of the season. Bernard Person comes in with a 28-point lead over Jason Maines and Dean Doucet, who are tied for second in points. And we had the track Too Tough to Tame, also known as the Lady in Black.
Yeah, Darlington Raceway, Jared. This track is one of my favorite tracks on the service, and the reason being is because of just how difficult it is to get around here. There is no easy place on this track. 1 and 2 completely different than 3 and 4. 1 and 2 there have a little bit sweeper corners here on the racetrack. It makes things a lot more a lot interesting, because you can go all the way down there to what you would consider the apron, even beyond the apron, as you try to get further and further along on this run. 3 and 4, though, those are the corners. Those are the ones that are most difficult. Those are the ones where the racetrack wants to go out and grab you, Jared. And we're going to see a lot of right side damage here on these cars tonight, and it's going to be a doozy. It's a hard track. These drivers, they're going to have to figure out who can tame this beast.
Let's take a look at our race information here tonight. Track temp 81 degrees, so pretty warm for a late evening race. So it's going to be cooling off as we go into the lights will come on here at Darlington. We're talking, right now laps 110 laps around this 1.336 mile track. Of course, the reason why it looks like this, I'm sure many NASCAR fans know, but in case you don't, there's a pond off of turn number 3, the old turn number 2, that was never relocated, so that's why we had the egg-shaped tough track that we have out there. 79 degree air temp, partly cloudy. Chris, we have some winds tonight coming out of the southwest, and that's going to be, or southeast, apologies. That's going to be a little bit treacherous for these guys coming off turn 2.
That it will, Jared. These cars are already a handful coming out of the corners here, and you have to have a real good control of your throttle going out of the corners. The wind just makes it all that more challenging. You got to be able to kind of have confidence going out of the corner here, and that wind may make you start to doubt how much you can really get on that throttle pedal.
Let's take a look at our point standings. Bernard Person, as we said, the point leader by 28 over Jason Maines and Dean Doucet. Chuck Sweeting, last week's winner, in 4th place. Then we have Tim Bills, Jason Spear, Burt Wilson, James Torrey, Bruce, and Flanagan, your top 10. And it's a pretty tight battle back there with Hunt, Vrooman, and Stouffer, and TJ Bartel all within a few points. Jamison, Phillips, all very close together for the back half of the top 10. Right now, qualifying going on as we speak, and let's take a look at our tower, and you'll see what everybody's put up on the board here as we've actually just ended qualifying, but Brian Helm going to be your pole setter, and we'll take a look at our starting lineup in here in just a moment.
Definitely a lot of interesting names up here on the top of the scoreboard, Jared. They're going to be starting our race. You mentioned it, Brian Helm is going to be our pole sitter, but he's not the only unfamiliar name up in the top 5 tonight.
Let's take a look at our starting lineup here. Brian Helm, your pole setter, with a time of 29.232 for Spear Motorsports. He'll start his first pole of the season. Alongside him, TJ Bartel with his best qualifying effort so far, part of Stingray Racing there in the number 80 with his best effort. Row number 2, we'll have David Phillips with his best qualifying effort in row number 2 alongside Rachel Hunt. And guess what? The trend continues, her best qualifying effort of the season so far. Row number 3, we'll have Chris Stouffer tying his best qualifying effort of the season with 5th, and Jason Maines, the 2nd place in points man. Row number 4, Troy Torgerson and Bobby Terrell making his debut with Wind Tunnel Racing. And row 5, rounding out your top 10, Chris, is going to be Dean Doucet and Jason Spear.
Behind them, and row number 6 is going to be Gil Gauck and Burt Wilson. Row 7, Chuck Sweeney and Paul Schmallenberg. Row number 8 is going to be Adam Newton and Darren Bruce. Row number 9, Bernard Persson starting the farthest back he started this season. Alongside him, Steven Ruman in the 00. And then rounding out your top 20, Andrew Poliski and Glenn Jamison.
So there you go. Very interesting starting lineup here tonight for Darlington. And congratulations to those drivers putting down some good laps. And this is a track, Chris, that could fit into a guy like Brian Helm, who's been very good at Darlington in other series we've covered in the past, and TJ Bartell too.
It certainly is a driver's track here, Jared, with it being different in each sections of the corners here. That's going to make for some interesting moments here. Especially the hardest part about Darlington is the restarts, in my opinion. You got to be able to get into the throttle quickly and be able to figure out if you're going to be able to get single wide going through 1 and 2. We mentioned how difficult it is to get off of the corner, especially tonight with the wind out of the going against you and out of turn 2. That's going to make things interesting, and a lot of different drivers, Jared, electing here to try to play it safe in the first part of this race, but it's only a 110 lap race. You can't be patient for too long.
You're exactly right, Chris. So we will have everybody lining up here. 20 car field, a little bit smaller, but that still does not make the racing any less. It's going to be a great race here tonight as these drivers all vying. And with the smaller field, we're probably going to have some green flag racing, and we're probably going to have some points battles all night long. Pace car about to pull off tonight's race, brought to you by Pay to Win Setups, the official setup provider of Wind Tunnel Racing. Check those guys out for all your oval, NASCAR, and street stock late model setup needs. Green flag about to drop. Pace car is off here at Darlington, and we're going to get ready for 110 laps of action. Brian Helm gets it going, and we're green here at Darlington.
Great jump there by Brian Helm. He clears the 80 machine of TJ Bartell pretty easily. Now Phillips looking to take that second spot away from Bartell on the inside.
Phillips can't quite get there as everybody gets through the corners pretty well right now. Down the back straightaway, everybody comes again. And everybody's still a little bit battle back there. Looks like maybe Bobby Terrell looking in there. Rachel Hunt looking on her teammate Jason Maines on the outside, and Brian Helm will lead lap number 1 here at Darlington.
Jared, we've talked about it so often this season. Jason Maines in that one machine typically doesn't have the short run car, has that car built for the long run, and early in the races he falls off. We'll have to keep an eye on him early in this race to see if that trend continues or if he breaks it out of that funk as Rachel Hunt looks underneath him.
David Phillips loose, and Chris Stouffer loose. Troy Torgerson's all over the back of him. We'll jump on board Torgerson and see how he's going through this field right now, as there is a gaggle of cars right here. Torgerson letting off the gas just a little bit. Stouffer underneath Phillips into turn 1. That's not going to be an easy passing place, Chris.
No, it's not. Stouffer got a little loose, went up the track there, conceded the spot to Phillips, and now because of that, Torgerson had to let out of the throttle coming out of the corner. Now he's under attack by Dean Doucet.
Looking out the back of Dave Phillips, and you can see the battle going on. This is allowing Brian Helm and TJ Bartell to scoot out. Already 3.5-second lead over this third place battle back here. And you see Dean Doucet tuck in front of Troy Torgerson. Stouffer to 4th. Phillips still holding on to his starting position in 3rd. And Stouffer going to look for a run coming off the corner here.
Gets the good run on the Phillips machine there, goes down low, getting that thing going in the right direction after getting loose earlier, and he brings Dean Doucet with him, and Troy Torgerson, as you mentioned it, Phillips gets into the wall. That's
going to open the door. Phillips going to drop. Jason Maines in the number 1 Elliott Sadler Esports machine, moving through the field. Rachel Hunt, his teammate, right on the back bumper. Then we also have Bobby Terrell in that new look machine. I think that's a 114 on the side of that car, if I'm not mistaken. I couldn't get a good look at it. Very interesting numbers for Bobby Terrell as Rachel Hunt goes around Phillips.
Yeah, and I believe Bobby Terrell just didn't make a number choice until the last minute there and didn't get it in. That's why he's got that 3-digit number. Who knows? He may enjoy that 114, though, as he looks underneath Phillips.
Terrell to the front. Here comes Jason Spears. So Dave Phillips. Chris, talk a little bit about Darlington, and you have an opportunity to get in this race driving. You can't drive the competitors. You have to drive the track. But talk about how difficult it is, and talk about what Dave Phillips is going in right now and how he can get his car back going forward again.
Oh, well, Jared, you mentioned it. It's the first thing here is racing the track, not your competitors, because the track will eat you up here way quicker than your competitors will, and that's going to concede spots to competitors if you fail to do so. But what you got to really learn to do here is be patient with your throttle, Jared. You got to be hard on the brakes getting into the corner, but you need to roll the momentum in the center of the corner in both of these corners here, both 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Otherwise, you lose the momentum that you need to be able to get off the corner here. A lot of different drivers, especially right now, are kind of all going by the same line on the exit of the corner here. As we go further on this race, look for drivers to be searching more for grip in other areas. Just because that high groove that we see, everyone seems to be in a train going around here is fast right now, doesn't mean that it will be later. You may be having to search for different grip as these tires start to wear out here.
We took a look there when Chris was explaining that, a little bit of dashboard information from the number 89 machine and how he's attacking this track. And you saw him getting out of the gas. But right now, Chris, let's talk about the two guys up front. Brian Helm, 1 second lead over TJ Bartel. Now, these two drivers, in fact, our top three, have yet to win a race this year. Chris Stover got his first podium of the season back last week. And here tonight, TJ Bartel and Brian Helm, they're starting to check out. But they got most of that gap in the first, 4 laps, Chris?
That they did, Jared, and really between Helm and Stouffer, our third place contender, there's not really been that much of a gain since that moment. However, TJ Bartel is starting to fall off of him. He had him within 3/10, 4/10 right after that restart, or the initial start, and now he's fallen back to 1.2, 1.3 seconds behind your leader. Helm's kind of checking out right now.
Brian Helm doing a good job. And we've seen him do very well at Darlington in many different disciplines over the years, and Helm doing just that here. He's gained about a half a second on TJ Bartel and put 2/10 on Chris Stouffer that lap. We look back further. There's Stouffer, Doucet, and Torgerson. They're kind of all by themselves. They have about a 2-second gap over Jason Maines, Hunt, and Terrell, who are in kind of a 3-car pack. And then we check in Dave Phillips, Jason Spear, Gil Gott, Bernard Hurst up 5 spots since the start. Your points leader up to 12th place, but seems to be driving pretty conservative right now, Chris. Is he using his stuff a little bit easy right now, trying to get to the front in the long run?
Jared, I've been following him for the last couple of laps. Right now he is, but earlier in this run, he was not. He was trying to get as many spots as he possibly can. But this is something we've seen from Bernard in the past, just not quite this far back into the pack. He likes to take things slow and work his way towards the front, as he's now kind of working on Gil Gott, but he's being patient about it. Now he looks to the inside of Gil Gott. He's going to have him. Gil is going to concede the position before they ever get to the corner. A lot of give and take out of the 85 right now.
Dropping to number 12. Gil not very used to this stuff. We look further back. Darren Bruce, winner from Bristol. He's in 13th, up 3 spots. Paul Schmallenberg, 14th and 14th. Chuck Sweeting, Chris, last week's winner, down 2 positions since the start. And I noticed, if I'm not mistaken, I can't really tell, maybe some damage on the right side of that car?
He's certainly touched the wall, Jared. He's got a little bit of damage to that side. It looked like in the initial start he got really loose coming out of the corner and got up into the wall. Not too much damage at this point. Still okay, but definitely he's got his Darlington stripe already for the evening.
So let me ask you this, Chris. Does that affect the car more than it affects the psyche of the driver when you get in the wall here at Darlington? Does that make you gun-shy driving this place?
I think it makes you gun-shy for about the first 15 laps after that happens, but once you get back into your rhythm, you find it, all that goes away, and you really just have to focus in on your driving style. But that goes again to talking about driving the track and not your competitors. Just makes it all that more difficult if now you've already hit the wall once. How hard do you push it? And right now, Chuck Sweeney, he's not pushing it too hard. Behind him, Andrew Poliski in that 32 machine, he's kind of all over his bumper, and you can see there's a gap between the 75 and Paul Schmallenberg in the 90.
Poliski almost got loose off turn number 2 there in that PBR number 32 machine. Behind him, his teammate Steven Vrooman in the 00. Moving forward, almost gets in the wall, but Vrooman on the verge of the top 10 in points, having a good season so far. Behind him, we got Burt Wilson, Adam Newton, and Glenn Jamieson battle for 19th back here, and Adam Newton's going to let Glenn Jamieson go into turn number 1, and Adam Newton will take up the spot on the shotgun in the field. He's down 5 spots. Burt Wilson down 6 spots. So those guys kind of going backwards along with Dave Phillips. Back up front, though, it's Brian Helm leading. That gap since we last checked has gone up an entire second, Chris. 2.5 to TJ Bartell now.
2.5 to TJ Bartell, 4.3 to Christopher, who has Dean Doucet in his tire tracks looking to get around that 13 machine. He's been there a couple of times, Jared, but not been able to get the run out of the corner to stay up and get the side stopper heading into the next corner. So Dean Doucet right now kind of playing the patient game, and as soon as I say that, he gets incredibly close to that wall.
Yeah, he may not have hit the wall. Sometimes you'll see some sparks, just a visual sparks from our side. That's just the network connection thing going on between us and the server. He may not have actually hit the wall there, but if he didn't, it was awfully close, and we definitely saw some sparks.
That we did. You can see exactly what it did to him. Now he's wicked loose coming out of the corner, Jared. He's driving that machine incredibly hard right now. Interesting to do that so early in this race. We're only 18 laps in, and he is trying to get up into this podium position as he looks alongside Christopher in the 13.
Got some issue with Troy Torgerson. I'm not sure, but he is slow on the bottom of the track. And I'm not getting any indication of a wreck, but something has happened to the 98. Let's see if we can get a replay on that. So here he is. He's up ahead of Jason Maines and going through the back straightaway here. Into turn number 3. So far, nothing going on there. Oh, he scoots, hits the wall. So Troy Torgerson smacks the wall coming out of turn 3. Loses a couple spots there. And I think maybe he just got freight trained, or maybe something else happened. We're maybe hearing that he may have spun off turn number 2. We'll follow this for just a second here and see what happened to the number 98 machine. Looks like, yeah, he just let everybody go. He did not spin off the corner, so there you go. Troy Torgerson up in the wall. Tough break for him. He was up in 5th position. Brian Helm continued to lead, 3.5 seconds to TJ Bartell. Dean Doucet in 3rd position, finally getting around Christopher right around the time we looked at that little incident there. Jason Maines to 5th, Rachel Hunt to 6th, Bobby Terrell 7th, Dave Phillips, Bernard Person, Jason Spear, your top 10.
Bernard Person, though, cracking the top 10 here now in 9th position, up 8 positions on the start. Jared, he's doing what we expect out of Bernard Person, making his way towards the front, albeit a little bit slower than he'd probably like at this moment. But he's got some stiff competition. Yeah, it definitely looks like he got into it there on my end. But he's got some stiff competition in front of him to be able to get up there and close the gap between him and Dean Doucet. Even though he's got that 24-point lead, you don't want to give up any points, especially with as tough as this competition has been throughout recent weeks.
Bernard Person kind of has been ho-hum the last couple weeks. Last week wasn't his best race of the year by any means, and tonight he's running the back half of the top 10, but he is moving forward, so I wouldn't expect Bernard Person to kind of get to the front before this thing is over. But Dave Phillips is his next driver up, then Bobby Terrell on debut in 7th, up 1 spot. Hunt down 2 in 5th or 6th. Jason Maines up 1. Stouffer up 1 in 4th and 5th, and Dean Doucet up 6. Currently the second most gain behind Bernard Person as he's trying to chase down his teammate TJ Bartell.
And Jared, if you actually go back to Bernard Person and check out his right rear camera on the straightaway, you can see, and as I'm watching, he just got into the wall again. You can see just how much damage that 8 machine already has as he's trying to figure out how to get around this track. He's certainly struggling now.
You see it a little bit looking out of the rear view camera. There is some damage that's actually crinkled in that spoiler just a little bit. Not a lot, but just a little bit. We almost hit it there again. Button have to use every inch of the track. We just may have used every literal inch of the track right now. As you see looking out the back, that's Jason Spear and Paul Schmallenberg in the number 90. Then we have Darren Bruce, Lewinsky, and Chuck Sweden a little bit further in the distance. But right now, 25 laps down. Chris, we talk about this race, Darlington being a tire eater track. Do you think these guys are going to push to lap 55, or are they going to have to come in earlier for tires?
I think that everyone here is going to make it on 2 stops, Jared. I mean, yes, the tires are worn out. Yes, they're going to get frustrated with how the handling of the car is going. But we saw it last week. If you hit just that one more time than everyone else, there's just so much time you've got to make up. I don't know that you can do it here at Darlington. It's going to be really difficult, even though this track, the fall off is more significant than last week's. But certainly not a strategy I'm willing to gamble on.
Chris calling it a one-stop, two-stint, basically, race here tonight. And, ooh, it looks like maybe Bobby Terrell smacking the wall, scraping the wall down the back straightaway. That is not good. He's going to lose several spots as Schmallenberg and everybody in front of him goes by, but Bobby Terrell trying to fight back on the outside.
Yeah, trying to fight back, unfortunately not able to do so. So he's going to fall in behind there. Person that's helping, Bernard Person, now up at the 8th with looking his sights on David Phillips.
So Paul Schmallenberg getting around Bobby Terrell. So Terrell dropping from 7th place all the way back to 11th. And that's how close these guys are running. You see Dave Phillips there and also Andrew Poliski gaining on this group as well. So a lot of stuff going on in the race so far tonight. Up front, that gap is still TJ Bartel, 4 seconds. And Dean Doucet was catching him, but Dean Doucet's actually started to lose time to Christopher. Christopher started to reel it in ever so slightly again.
Yeah, it looked like Dean Doucet got wicked loose coming out of the corner, Jared. He had to chase the car all the way down to the, as it gets loose again there, he had to chase it all the way to the inside wall. And when he did, it made him a little bit more cautious in the next couple of laps. He kind of thought he had that confidence back in the 29, but you can see he's getting that car completely sideways coming out of 1 and 2.
And Jason Maines now up on the back of the 13 machine. Battle for 4th position. Jason Maines having a pretty solid night. Chris, we've talked about Jason Maines in the past where, you know, he seems like he doesn't have the car at the beginning of the race, gives up too much. Dean Doucet, as I broke my train of thought, almost wrecked it off turn number 2. That car was pointed toward the pit wall. He is really struggling with handling right now.
That he is, Jared. You caught it. I mean, he was looking at pit wall. There was no doubts about it. He had that thing completely sideways. But the thing that's helping him, Jason Maines, getting around Christopher. But that means Jason Maines, he's going to be charging hard to get in front of Dean Doucet. He's battling for the points positions here. Every single position here is going to matter significantly as we get closer into these final races. And Jason Maines, he knows that with Dean Doucet in front of him, he's got to get around him and put distance between himself and that 29 machine.
And to go back to Jason Maines, as we were, had our train of thought broken there, but of course we've seen him before. He has been a driver that has maybe given up a lot on the beginning of the race and can't get it back as the race goes on. But he's recovered for great finishes, but, last week didn't have a great finish at all. Tonight, I mean, he's come to the front a little bit sooner than what I would expect, and he's chasing down Dean Doucet and TJ Bartel here as we speak, but Brian Helms still scooting away from this whole group as Dean Doucet definitely scraped the wall that time if he didn't before, and he almost hits it on the straightaway. He is really having some handling issues in that car.
Well, he got into the throttle just trying to get off of the wall, Jared, and because of that, he spun the rear tires, and as he did it, you just have to let off of the gas to be able to gather those tires back up and get them going in the right direction. He's not able to do it, and you can see just how much struggling he's going through in that car, battling that thing left and right on the wheel there. He definitely would love to be able to go and get some fresh tires right now, but as we said, it's a 55 laps until you get that one pit stop in, unless maybe a little bit of strategy. If you get past here, if you start losing too many positions, maybe Dean decides to make it a 2-stop strategy.
Oh my goodness, this is not going to be an easy passing zone. Dean Doucet is all over the place. Jason Maines is going to try to make the pass anyway, down the back straightaway.
And look what it's done. It's brought Rachel Hunt and Christopher right up here into this battle, as well as Jason Maines is going to dive in a little bit deeper there, get the momentum, get in front of the 29 machine. But now Rachel Hunt right there, she's going to try to figure out how to get around the 29 machine. And now, if you're Dean, you kind of just need to let these guys go. You're struggling with the handling of these cars. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you get loose again and end up in that inside catch fence.
Dean Doucet now has, and that's also, by the way, bringing Paul Schmallenberg and Dave Phillips. Oh, contact! Dean Doucet loose into the entry of the corner, hits the side of the 16 car. Christopher nowhere to go, and they're wrecking, and now Schmallenberg and Phillips have to take evasive action. But unfortunately, I think the way this track is set up, Chris, I think we're going to stay green. We are.
We're going to stay green, absolutely, and that's just a heartbreak. If you're Rachel Hunt, if you're Christopher, that's going to send them farther back into the field. Hunt now dropping to 16th, almost 17th right there. Chris Stouffer even a little bit better than her in 12th right now. But how much damage did that create for Dean Doucet in that 29 machine? He's really been struggling handling. Now he has a car that's already beat up.
Heavy damage on the front end of Chris Stouffer, just on board with him. Rachel Hunt, what a tough break for her. Heavy damage on the side of that car, and she is really loose. I think that car very wounded. And Dean Doucet has some damage all over the front of that car too. But tell you what this has done, Paul Schmallenberg is now in 5th place, folks. Him and David Phillips avoided that wreck, and they have moved up into the top 5 and 6 positions. Jason Spear followed him through, so did Poliski, Person, and Sweeting. All your top 10 drivers, and this has changed the kind of the complexion of this race just a little bit, Chris. But unfortunately for Chris Stouffer, I mean, that is just the wrong place at the wrong time. It looked like Rachel Hunt was going to save it, hit the wall, came off the wall, and Stouffer was the guy that was there to catch that car off the wall. And now, Chris, what does Dean Doucet do? I mean, that car is definitely not handling it.
Well, right there, you saw he let Paul Schmallenberg go, let him take that 4th position off and just follow in line here, as now he's going to be battling the handling of that car even more. I mean, these cars, they're very aero dependent. Even at a track like this, Jared, where we're not in what you would consider a super speedway kind of track, you need the downforce on that right side. Hitting the wall a little bit, pancaking it a little bit, not a big issue. The problem that he has is that his damage is on the left rear, which just makes the downforce that much treacherous for that number 29. Any kind of damage in that area just really messes with the handling of these cars, which are already difficult to drive here. And you can kind of see it as up in their 2nd place position, Jason Maines has got around TJ Bartel.
Hey, Chris, you know, I was gonna mention this before that wreck happened, but these cars are some of the hardest cars to drive once that right rear tire goes away, like it is on Dean Doucet. I mean, you're basically not even in the throttle off the corner because it gets so loose. You cannot burn the right rear tire off. He's going to let David Phillips go as well. And Dean Doucet awfully low on the track. Chris, I think he's heading into the pits on lap 40. This is definitely going to be a 2-stopper if he's coming in. He is in.
Yeah, I think he was realizing he was losing too much time anyway. This is giving him the opportunity. He comes in and pits now and stays out while everyone else pits and possibly end up lapping a couple drivers. It could work to his benefit. But, Jared, it's all going to be about whether or not we get a caution or not. And we saw just how much action we can have on the track without there being a caution. That's going to make things all that more difficult. But right now, Jason Maines in that 1 machine, he is on a tear, Jared. He was almost 6 seconds behind your leader at one point. He's now cut that lead to 5 seconds. Brian Helm, the handling starting to fall off of that number 26 machine. And Jason Maines showing that he's got the long run speed.
Let's take a look at the gap between Jason Maines and Brian Helm here. So there you go. That gap was at one point in time as high as 8 seconds, Chris, between Jason Maines and Brian Helm. Within the last 10 laps, it was as high as 8 seconds. That gap is down to 4.5. Jason Maines is tearing through this field right now. Adam Newton on pit road.
And it's only going to go farther and farther down. He's now got that lead down to 4.1 seconds, Jared. Jason Maines really doing a good job here with being able to make this car last on the long run. We saw every other driver basically in this field getting the thing sideways, coming out of the corners. Haven't seen that out of the 1 machine.
And looking at that time delta, you can see just the chunks, and Brian Helm might have scraped the wall there, but the chunks, they're just eating out every single lap we go here in the last 10, and Brian Helm has to know that as it is getting down to that point for Jason Maines to start catching him in. It's under 4 seconds now.
Under 4 seconds, down to 3.6, almost 3.5 at the line, Jared. He's going to be able to catch him. At this point, it's a matter of whether or not he's able to get there before they make that pit stop on lap 55, 56 in that area, and whether or not Brian Helm elects to short pit to try to get a little bit more space between him and Jason Maines. We know the fall off is incredible here at Darlington, Jared. If Helm decides to short pit and able to pull a little bit more of a gap on Mains, that might be his little saving grace here at the end of this race.
I was actually going to say, Chris, I think if Mains is catching him on the long run, wouldn't you want to stay out and have less tires at the end of the race?
Well, it's all going to go about how, well, it's so aggravating because as a driver, you'd want to be able to stay out as long as possible. But at the same time, you know how much time you're losing. I think with as much time as he's giving up now, if he decides to pit even on the same lap as Jason Mains will easily be able to get around him in that one machine. So I think your best option here is to short pit. I think you need to be able to get that short run speed and hope maybe there's a caution at the end and help you out here. But the problem is we don't see cautions that often here at Wind Tunnel Racing in the Xfinity Series here on Wind Tunnel TV. So it's really kind of putting the ball in the driver's court. Now Jason Mains, he has that lead down to 2.2 seconds.
Yeah, that's actually inevitable at this point in time. These guys are going to, Jason Mains is going to catch him. I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, it is unreal the amount of time. Like I said, 15 laps ago, he was 8.1 seconds behind Brian Helm. That gap down to 1.9 now. And Chris, this is just a guy that you saw him go backwards at the beginning of the race and kind of scratch your head. You're like, I don't know about that. And here it is. Jason Mains has yet to win yet this season, if you can believe that. And right now, this looks like an opportunity for him. Can't give you an update on the pits. Dean Doucet is down the way. He had a 1.5-minute pit road time. So he has definitely had some damage repaired. Adam Newton, 3-minute pit stop, and Troy Torres has put his car in the garage and done for the night in the 98 machine.
And Jared, it's hard to figure out what to do here just as these drivers are going around here. Adam Newton, he's definitely got some heavy damage to that number 2 machine as he lets Brian Helm go here. You can see that he's gotten into the wall as well and made that car a little bit hard to drive, at least on the right front there. But every lap, Jared, looking at the times, Helm is losing about 3 to 4 to even 5 tenths on Mains. Mains is going to be there now within the next probably 4 or 5 laps. It's going to be whether or not Helm's able to kind of defend him, because we know they're coming to pit road in about 6 laps.
Well, that's the thing, Chris. You called it. Can Brian Helm hold off Jason Mains to the pit stops and then just kind of reset this race really from zero, right? Because Jason Mains is going to catch him, and it's going to be all about when he catches him. Now, Adam Newton is not there. He has not caught Adam Newton yet, but there is enough air on the front of that car that is kind of disrupting the handling. His times have declined, and Adam Newton kind of in the way this time, and he is going to get out of the way, but not really a great place for Adam Newton to be caught, honestly, for Jason Mains. Nowhere Adam Newton could go there.
Not at all. And look behind Jason Mains, Dean Doucet on those fresh tires, Jared. No matter how the handling is on that number 29 machine, he's going to be faster than Jason Mains. And you can see it, he just blows by him on the front stretch.
You see our battle box coming up there, 0.97, the difference between those two drivers right now. I want to give a shout out to Paul Schmallenberg, having a career night for the 90 machine. We've had so much going on. I don't feel like we've given him his due. He started back in 14th position. He has wheeled the number 90 machine all the way up to 3rd position. He's just got around TJ Bartell. Great drive by the driver of the 90 out of Michigan.
That he is doing a heck of a job here tonight and really showing that he's got a lot of long run speed. Up 11 positions, Jared. That's almost incredible and almost impossible to do at a track like this without some help. That's just showing how much long run speed that 90 machine has. And the one, he's now on the bumper of the 26.
See how far Schmallenberg is back on the extended battle box there. 7 seconds behind Jason Mains right now. So that's it. But out for 3rd, you see TJ Bartell and Dave Phillips on that list. There's TJ right there in the number 80, and Dave Phillips in the top 5. Great run for Dave Phillips as well. Had a career best qualifying effort. And it's been a career night for a lot of guys. Andrew Poliski having his best run of the night in 6th position. Burt Wilson down and away from pit road. Jason Spear having a great night in 7th. There's Chuck Sweeting in 8th. Bernard Persson, though, our point leader, despite all these guys having career nights, Bernard Persson kind of having a bad night in 9th place.
That he is, and it's not helping him as now Mains is trying to take over the lead from teammate Brian Helm for that Spear Motorsports bunch. Helm is really doing a good job though, Jared, at holding him back. But Person, he's kind of having an night. Not the night that we expected out of him, but we can kind of see if these two drivers in the Spear Motorsports camp are running similar setups, you can see that they built them for an intermediate type run, not a long run, and that's really costing Bernard Person at the moment.
Jason Maines underneath Brian Helm into turn 3, and Maines will take over the lead here on going to lap 55. So the number 1 machine to the front, Gil Gach and Rachel Hunt on pit road from 15th and 16th respectively.
And Jared, I don't know if you caught it there on the camera or not, but when Brian Helm got passed by Maines coming out of the corner there, you could see Brian Helm wiggling that car up the track out of the corner. But right in front of him, Jason Maines, he almost had that thing glued to the track. He wasn't having to fight that car at all.
And that's the key with these Xfinity cars. You want it a little bit snugger than maybe you're used to with the trucks or even the Cup car. And you can definitely tell Paul Schmallenberg and Steven Vrooman on pit road. Gil Gach has left pit road. So we got guys, the window is open right now, but Jason Maines continues to stay out. No indication he's going to come in yet.
Well, and why would you, Jared? I mean, he's pulling a lead on Brian Helm. In that one lap, he had a second lead pretty much over second place Brian Helm, and he's continuing to gain time on Brian Helm. At this point, now if you're Jason Maines, you might want to stay out longer as you possibly can. As you mentioned it, those tires are going to be worth something at the end. If you can go a little bit longer here, I mean, it's 13 seconds back to third place right now.
Jason Spear, Bernard Person on pit road. TJ Bartel, Phillips, Poliski all on pit road. Bartel's down away. Schmallenberg down and away. Phillips down and away with a good pit stop. 52.2. He might have the best pit lane time of the night so far. So that's going to leave 5 drivers that have not pitted yet. Stouffer being the last of those in 5th place. He got that damage from the earlier wreck. And you see all these drivers coming out in front of him. That's going to be Phillips and Bartel, not for position currently there. Jason Maines, though, Chris, still staying out.
Staying out with a 2.2 second lead over Brian Helm. And Helm is definitely having a handful as these cars go around him, getting that thing up. He's tagged the wall another 2 times since he lost the lead.
Brian Helm just trying to hold on at this part. It's Jason Maines, Brian Helm, and Chuck Sweeting. Glenn Jamieson and Stouffer, your top 5. They are the only ones that have not pitted yet.
And Chuck Sweeney is going to make his way to pit road in that 75 machine. That's going to leave us with now just 3 drivers as Glenn Jamieson also goes down pit road with him.
Brian Helm trying to get out of the way of Burt Wilson. It looks like Helm is coming in the pits as well as Chuck Sweeting and Glenn Jamieson.
And we'll have to keep an eye on it. The gap between Maines and Helm was right at 5 seconds when Helm started slowing down. If he's able to make up time here, this will be his excellent opportunity to do so, getting on and off of pit road.
Here comes Jason Maines. It looks like Bobby Terrell's going to pass him to get back one of his 2 laps. He is currently, or one of his 2 laps. So he'll be 1 lap down. So that's going to leave Stouffer, Jason Maines. Now the only driver that hasn't pitted yet, Stouffer, is on pit road. So everybody has come to pit road except for Jason Maines. Chris, is he extending this too long here, or is there a big ulterior strategy that he's just going to start wiping the floor when he comes in?
Well, I think at this point he's wanting to go out as long as possible. I mean, we're clearly going to have a long run here. I mean, we've had one already, so we're going to expect that we'll continue the same, and that's going to play into his hands as we go longer and longer here. I mean, the problem is right now, though, he's losing time to Brian Helm as Helm comes out with these fresher tires. It's going to be interesting to see just how much time he loses when he elects to pit, because he's still having to get out of the way of drivers like the 70 machine of Wilson right there as he goes around him with those fresher tires. I think we'll see him in the next couple of laps, though, Jared. You don't want to do this too far, otherwise you're going to just lose more time than you're able to make up.
So Burt Wilson going back to 1 lap down. Jason Maines has had the whole entire field 1 lap down, so he's kind of at the mercy of everybody. Here he comes. Jason Maines, our leader, is heading to pit road. So now the window is open for all these drivers. This is when you have to get down good laps and gain some time. This is a arduous, very long pit road that you have to go down here at Darlington. And can be painful, really, at the end of the day. We're watching on the track. We'll bring up the track map actually and kind of show you guys where everybody is in relation to Jason Maines on the track. So there's Jason Maines on pit road, second place right now. Just went around him to get back on the lead lap. So Brian Helm in second place is coming down the back straightaway right now.
That he is, and now Maines sits on pit road getting his service as Brian Helm now comes through 3 and 4. Helm is easily going to get this lead back here over Maines, it looks like, because right now Helm is at the start-finish line, and Jason Maines is just now out to the exit of pit road. There's your gap, Jared. You see him as he goes around. That's going to give Helm back the lead, and right now he's falling. It's going to be about a 2.5 to 3 second lead he'll have over Jason Maines, who now will have to get around TJ Bartel as well.
So he's going to come out just ahead of Dave Phillips and just behind TJ Bartel. So he's got to slot into third place, but he's got 7 lap newer tires than TJ Bartel and 3, almost 4 laps newer than Brian Helm. So that could be something to pay attention to as this race goes on. Also, he has less fuel than anybody else, I would gander, too.
Certainly that's going to help. The lighter you can make these cars, the better at this track, with the less opportunity to slide that car around here. And we'll have to watch these next couple of laps as he's finally up to speed, whether or not he's a little bit faster than Helm or Bartel. But right now, 4 seconds is the gap between third place and first place.
Darren Bruce, heavy impact to the wall. He is just now getting his service completed back out on the track.
That's actually
place.
his second pit stop, Jared.
Yeah, 5-minute pit lane stop there. So heavy damage for the number 4 machine. 8 laps down. Newton 5 laps down in 18th. Dean Doucet, the only driver, 1 lap down in 17th currently. Stouffer, who is running in 3rd position at one point in time in this race, 25 seconds back. Hunt, 24 seconds back, just behind Stephen Vrooman. And then we got Gilgock, Glenn Jamieson, all back in this group, as well as Burt Wilson. And then there's a big gap to Bobby Terrell, who's about 5 seconds ahead of all those drivers.
So just like we saw before, Jason Maines is not able to keep up the pace that Brian Helm has on this short run. However, he is able to get up and around TJ Bartel, moving him into second position, but he's still 4.2 seconds behind Brian Helm. He's going to need the fall off to start happening a little bit sooner in this section of the race so he can get up there and get around Helm. But 4 seconds, that's nothing compared to the 8 that he was earlier.
Paul Schmallenberg didn't have a good pit stop. He was dropped from 3rd to 5th position. He pitted the same time as Phillips and Martel, but just did not have a good pit lane time. Only gave up an entire second on pit lane there in the number 90 machine. He also had a slower pit stop in general, but tough break for 90, but still a solid run. I mean, you can't be disappointed with the top 5 finish. He got one back at Bristol earlier this year, but right now it is Brian Helm. He is your race leader. 3.9 the gap to Jason Maines, 68 of 110 in the books.
3.9 sounds a little bit less than 4.0, Jared. That means Jason Maines able to find a little bit of speed and is starting to reel in Brian Helm. And of course it jumps back to 4 at the line as it looks like Maines actually had to get out of it. He got a little tight, it looked like, in the middle of the corner and had to get out of it and gave about 2/10 back to Brian Helm.
So now we have everybody pretty much on the same strategy. Now, Dean Doucet, we do think will have to pit one more time, which is going to hurt his opportunities to get back on the lead lap. We'll have to see. Christopher does get around Rachel Hunt for 15th position in the battle for the last driver on the lead lap. They are about 3 seconds ahead of Brian Helm right now on the track before they're going to be lapped. So there's Adam Newton on the screen. He is 5 laps down. There's Rachel Hunt. There's Stephen Vroom up here. So Brian Helm's going to come up on some traffic, Chris.
That he is. It's going to be interesting to see how he's able to deal with it. I mean, we saw the last run when he was catching lap traffic, he had that car completely sideways as he was loose getting around and working through that traffic. Now he's got a little bit fresher tires than he did then. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to conserve a little bit more here while also not giving up too much to Maines. But that may be the key to Brian Helm's race here. If he's able to save a little bit more tire this run than he was able to last run, it might actually save his race.
Yeah, and that is going to be the crucial thing. He is, number one, he's got 3-lap older tires than Jason Maines, so he's really going to have to save those tires. And I think if I was him, I would have gone very conservative, knowing I was going to come out in the lead. I think I would have gone conservative on my outlaps and tried to save a little bit, but we'll see if that he did or if he has or if he's continuing to. But now he's coming up on Jason Maines' teammate, Rachel Hunt, who promptly pulls out of the way, so that storyline is null and void.
Yeah, absolutely. You would think that Rachel Hunt would have team orders there, but not in this series. Rachel Hunt sees a faster car getting up to her. She decides to let it go. That's a smart move there by Hunt. It's interesting to see where Hunt has fallen to. That's down 11 positions from her starting spot. That damage early on with Chris Stouffer and Dean Doucet really upset that car. Luckily for her, though, it seems to have been a little bit less for her than it has for Stouffer or Doucet, both of which had a little bit more damage and are currently scored behind her. But you mentioned it, Dean Doucet, he's going to have to make at least one more pit stop, we believe. If he does, Jared, the good news for him is at this moment, he can only lose one position to Chris Stouffer.
He's actually passed Chris Stouffer because Chris Stouffer has come down pit road and done an 8 and 9 second stop. Not sure if he didn't get enough fuel in that car or what happened there, but very interesting pit stop for Chris Stouffer. He came down, didn't see him hit the wall or anything like that, but now he is going to be 2 laps down in 17th. So Dean Doucet 16th, 1 lap down. Hunt 15th, 1 lap down, and Brian Helm just past Steven Vrooman. So that's going to leave us with 13 drivers on the lead lap. Gil Gach is about 2.5 seconds ahead of Brian Helm right now.
And interesting looking at the times, the last 2 laps, 72 and 73, Jason Maines is actually slower than your leader, even with Brian Helm going through that traffic. But then, unfortunately, for Helm at least, lap 74, Jared, 0.6 faster Maines was than Helm.
Yeah, and there you see it on the screen. It's been up and down. I mean, the graph has, sometimes it's Maines, sometimes it's Helm that's quicker. But the last 2 laps, as Chris foreshadowed, it's been Jason Maines, and it's been Jason Maines by a lot. And he has cut that lead down from 4 seconds down under 3.5 now at the line with 35 laps to go at Darlington. The track too tough to tame. The lady in black, because of all the black marks around the side of the track and the cars here at this track that's been on the schedule since 1949. As we continue here 77 laps in, and Brian Helm going to catch Gil Gach and try to put him a lap down.
And really a hard place to catch a car, Jared, right there out of the corner like that. Really slows down your momentum. See how close Brian Helm ends up getting to the wall there? And all that did was help Jason Maines, as now he's broken that lead to under 3 seconds.
Jason Maines starting to stalk the prey that is Brian Helm, but Brian Helm, a very good short track driver, a very good intermediate track driver, really good on all kinds of tracks that require some throttle control. He's going to be a tough guy to pass, and I'm sure Jason Maines is going to have to give everything he's got to get around the 26 machine. Let's look at some of the other guys out here. TJ Bartel, kind of in no man's land, 3rd place, good solid run, started 2nd. We got Dave Phillips, who started 3rd. He's 4th. He dropped all the way back to 9th place at one point in time in this race, but he's done a solid job since then. Dean Doucet, by the way, on pit road for his scheduled 2nd stop. Paul Schmallenberg in 5th. He is chasing down David Phillips for 4th right now. Chuck Sweeting, Chris, last week's winner. He was running back in 13th, 14th position all night, but guess where he is right now? 6th position. Just got around Andrew Poliski and Bernard Person for those positions. Jason Spear in 9th, and Bobby Terrell in his debut race at Winton Racing rounds out your top 10 currently, with Jamison and Wilson, your last 2 drivers on the lead lap, as we are now 32 laps into the race to go in the race, Chris.
Yeah, and it's been interesting to watch these battles throughout the pack here. It's hard to talk about what's happening in the pack when you know so much is coming up front, but interesting to see Person, after that pit stop, he was actually not gaining any position since the pit stop. He was able to get in front of teammate Jason Spear, but unfortunately lost a position to, I believe, Poliski after he had just made the pass on him. So now he's got to get back around him to get back up into that 7th position. Certainly not having the night that I certainly would have expected out of the number 8 machine, but still doing a pretty decent night at the moment, keeping it up in the top 10 for helping him out with that points. The problem is with Jason Maines running second, he's closing that gap between himself and the 8.
Yeah, so 28 points coming in. Now, Brian Helm will clinch the double bonus points for leading the most laps, so he'll get 2 bonus points for that. Jason Maines won't be able to get that no matter what. But Jason Maines will get 1 bonus point. He's already led 1 lap. Right now, as it stands, he would gain a total of 6 points, or 7 points on Bernard Persson. But at the same time, Bernard Persson is gaining 8 points on Dean Doucet. So the points battle tightening up and also expanding in another direction for depending on the driver.
Leader in the wall. Brian Helm smacks it hard coming out of 2, Jared. Pancakes the side of that number 26 machine on the right side. He definitely got more than the Darlington stripe that time.
You can see it. You can see the side of that car. It was crinkled up before, but it's really crinkled up now. Even on the rear end, it's crinkled up. So Brian Helm really got a piece of that wall in turn number 2 right around here. And Jason Maines has got that gap under 2 seconds. Chris, is the he almost hit it again there. Is the pressure getting to the 26 machine?
Well, it's interesting to see if we watch along here with Brian Helm for a moment. Look at this car in the middle of the corner and off of it. You can see just how much Brian Helm is really fighting to keep that thing going straight. Even right then, Fishstone to come out of 3 and 4, and arguably that's the harder corner, Jared. But the problem is that if you set up your car for that corner, when you go through 1 and 2 like we are right now, you have to fight that much harder getting into the throttle. He tries to go down to make a little bit later second apex there, but in order to do that, you have to slide all the way up almost to the wall to be able to get the momentum out of the corner there, and that makes it just so much more difficult on those tires. If you make one mistake, it compounds over a 5, 10, 15 lap run. Whereas if you watch Jason Maines hopping on and looking at his car, him going through the same corners, he's not fighting that car near as much as Brian Helm, not sliding it. And that's really why he's able to run a little bit faster lap times. He's kind of chose to go a little bit higher. You can see as he gets off the corner there, he almost touches the wall, but still not near as close as Brian Helm has been.
And Chris, I was kind of looking at the cars. I don't think Jason Maines has hit the wall tonight. He almost did, just there off turn 2.
If he's touched it, Jared, it's not been hard enough to create any damage that I can see on my end either. The problem is that Brian Helm, after hitting that wall that hard, how much damage does he have? How difficult now is that car to drive? And you can see it. He's feeling the pressure every single corner. He's getting that thing loose out of the corner.
And when you get these cars loose one time, you're going to get it loose from that point on, unless you really back it down or really change how you're driving it, because once you start getting heat in that right rear tire, it never dissipates, it seems like. And that gap, actually, he lost half a second on that lap alone, Chris.
That he did, and it was interesting the lap before, even with getting that thing sideways. Oh man, Jared, he worries me. Every time he gets out of that corner, the second corner there, I'm worried he's going to smack the wall. He's able to keep it going the right direction, though. But it's been interesting, these two drivers. It's been negative, positive, negative, positive, negative as far as lap times between these two. But the problem is that when Helm is faster, he's maybe 100, 200ths quicker. But when Jason Maines is quicker, he's 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths quicker. That's making things really difficult for Brian Helm. That means he needs to work that much harder on that car. And a car that's already getting loose, the harder you overdrive these corners or trying to get onto the throttle quicker, the worse the feeling in the car is. So you have to baby it around here, losing more time.
Brian Helm down to 1 second between our leaders. Brian Helm hasn't won this year. Jason Maines hasn't won this year. TJ Bartel, actually entire top 5, has yet to win this year. So we are looking very likely for a first-time winner regardless of what happens up front. It could be TJ Bartel if these guys get together. Half a second the gap between the leaders.
And looking back in your 5th place position there with the number 90 machine of Paul Schmallenberg, he's got Chuck Sweeney really reeling him in as well. Sweeney has been faster for the last 6-7 laps. He's really brought that gap down between them two. Sweeney, he said, there's no winners in the top 5? All right, I'll be there soon. And that's what he's doing in that 75 machine.
He's going to the front. And Brian Helm is actually able to gain a little bit of time on Jason Maines that last lap. Shockingly enough, as we looked at that battle with Schmallenberg and Sweeting, but unfortunately both those drivers kind of jumping in and out with their connections, so it's kind of hard to follow them. There we go. Schmallenberg going into turn 3. He's got some lap traffic in front of him that's costing some time. He was gaining on Dave Phillips for 4th, and Phillips is now chasing down TJ Bartel. That is a battle, could be a battle for 3rd place, the final podium position. We'll see what happens here as Rachel Hunt does get out of the way of Schmallenberg anyway. So going back up front, gap is half a second, but Chris, it's been a half a second for 5 laps now.
That it has, and even though Helm seems to be a little bit faster in 3 and 4, or sorry, 1 and 2 than Brian Helm a little bit faster in 3 and 4. And even though he's catching him, the closer you get to that car in front of you,
oh, he hits the wall.
That's
it. That's probably it right there.
Ooh, not a good moment for Brian Helm. Still in front of him at the moment, but just that much more damage to the 26 machine.
Chris, he did a great job there. He was actually able to stay in front of Jason Maines. Now, Jason Maines, in his mind, what is he thinking right now? Does he know it's inevitable he's going to pass? And he's like, hey, you can stay out front as long as you want. I don't care about all these other laps. I just care about the last one. Is that his mentality right now?
Well, absolutely. Brian Helm's already clinched the most laps led, so he can't get the bonus point for that. So at this point, Jared, he got 18 laps or 36 corners to be able to get around Brian Helm. So he can be a little bit more patient, though it looks like he's going to go for it here in 3 and 4.
Helm to the outside, Maines to the inside, looking, but he just can't get that run through 3 and 4. Like you said, Chris, Brian Helm very good through 3 and 4. 1 and 2 has been the struggle point as we are down to 17 laps to go at Darlington. And here it is. This is, I mean, he just gets up there and the car just doesn't want to do what he wants it to do, or maybe some lack of concentration or something going on there. But Jason Maines with a great run through 1 and 2. Helm has to keep it in here, Chris, going into 3 and 4. This is where he's strong. If he can stay in front of him in 3 and 4, I feel like Jason Maines might be up against him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the last couple of laps, you can see the times, they've really been basically equal between these two drivers. Maines may be a little bit faster, but he's not gaining in feet anymore. He's gaining in inches on Brian Helm. His best chance right here is if Brian Helm gets sideways coming out of 2, but Helm, he's kind of gotten the second corner a little bit more figured out. He's not gotten that car completely sideways like we've seen in the past here when he got up and pancaked the wall. So now that's making it even harder for Jason Maines, but Maines was able to get into it a little bit quicker in 3 and 4, and now he looks to the inside.
And this is nervous moments. This is a hard passing zone, and Helm's going to stay there. Maines is going to fight back on the inside, and Helm get a good run. He hits the wall, and that's going to do it.
Yeah, at that point, Jason Maines, he had to slide up. That car was going to slide up. He had to lift a little bit, and you could see, unfortunately, Brian Helm didn't lift as much, and because of it, he puts that number 26 into the wall. That's hard racing. Neither driver touched each other, but both of them create an impact on the other driver, as now Helm has fallen back to 1.5 seconds just in that one lap, Jared.
And that's one of those situations, if you guys have never driven Darlington, the turn just narrows out so much off that corner. If you're side by side from somebody, it flattens out so much that their natural line, unless they really fight the car, is always going to go out, and so is the outside line. And you're always going to have to really be on top of it. And unfortunately, Brian Helm, he didn't let out the gas. He said, I'm going to stick it on the outside of Maines come hell or high water, and high water came for Brian Helm that time, as he is now pretty much relinquished the chance for a win. He is 7 seconds ahead of TJ Bartel, who just passed a lap car there, Gil Gach. So I don't think he's in danger of losing second place, but stranger things have happened with 13 to go.
Stranger things have happened. Now Chuck Sweeney has gotten around Paul Schmallenberg in that 90 machine to put himself up into the top 5, and it's definitely showing that he's got a little bit more speed in that car as Person now looks and gets around. I believe that's Andrew Poliski in the 32 machine.
So Poliski dropping back, Person trying to get some spots. Now Person is 4 seconds behind Schmallenberg. I don't know. Let's see, last lap time, they were equal. So it's going to be difficult for Person to catch Schmallenberg by the end of this race, I should say. But we'll see what happens. There's Poliski and Jason Spear, all kind of under a blanket, 7th, 8th, and 9th here. Polisky in 32, Jason Spear in 83, and Bobby Terrell hanging on to 10th place. He is about 2 seconds from being lapped here tonight. He is also 2 seconds ahead of Glenn Jamieson, the last driver on the lead lap, who has Jason Maines breathing all over the back of that number 63 machine. Maines going to look. No, he's not going to look this time. So 3 seconds the gap between Maines and Brian Helmquist. And now Jason Maines just kind of lapping some guys here as this race goes on. Jamieson, the next guy up. That'll put us with 11 cars currently, but could be 10 cars by the end of this lap on the lead lap, as we are down to 10 to go.
Down to 10 to go, Jared, and Brian Helm, he's continuing to fall off. TJ Bartel may be able to get up to him, but I don't think he'll be able to get around him with now 9 laps to go. He's going to have to be pulling about right at 0.8 of a second quicker than Helm to be able to get up to that second position, but unfortunately not able to do it the last couple of laps. It was just 2-3 tenths.
Sorry, Chris. Glenn Jamieson, I think, was trying to get out of the way of Jason Maines and actually got right in his way, almost contact between our leader and a lap car, but they make it through that a little communication breakdown. I don't think it was anything malice there by the 63 machine, but he's going to go a lap down, so leave us with 10 cars on the lead lap. Chris, you talking about Brian Helm. He is about half a second slower than TJ Bartel, so it is probably not likely, but it is possible.
Yeah, he may be caught, but I don't think it'll be passed unless he ends up in the wall in turn 2, or in 1 and 2 again. But I don't know that he'll be able to fall off that much. So a lock in there for the second position for him. And TJ Bartel has got about 5 seconds to Phillips, so he's pretty comfortable. But the closest battle right now is for that 4th spot. Chuck Sweeney is a little bit faster than Phillips, but I don't know if he is going to be able to get up there and get around him for that 4th position. He's got roughly a second and a half back to him. Sorry, less than a second now. It is right at, I believe, 0.8 of a second between the two. So Chuck Sweeney, he may be able to get up there and get that 4th position coming to 6 to go.
That is going to be our big battle on the track. We also have this battle, Jason Spear able to get around Andrew Polisky there. So Polisky dropping to 9th position, Spear up to 8th. And then Bobby Terrell, he's 7 seconds behind this battle with the leader right on his back bumper. So it's unlikely that Bobby Terrell is going to be able to make much of an impact. But Dave Phillips, only half a second between him and Chuck Sweeney. But Chris, that gap between Bartel and Helm is under 4 seconds right now.
Under 4 seconds, but he's still not going to be able to make it up, I don't think, Jared. He's got to be able to run a second quicker than Helm to be able to catch him. I just don't think that's going to be possible.
Well, he just ran over a second quicker. 33.27 for Brian Helm, 31.86 for TJ Bartel. He was the fastest driver on the track by 300ths over Jason Maines. This is going to get close, Chris, I think.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it. It looks like, going back at it and looking, Helm, we talked about it, he had to stay out of the wall, Jared. Guess what he did?
Smash the wall.
Again, that 26, he's fighting for it. I mean, he wants to be up here and running as well as he possibly can. And when he's able to keep it off the wall, that gap only comes down 3/10, almost 4/10. So not enough if he can keep it out of the wall. But that's been the hard thing for the 26.
So we'll monitor that battle. Right now we're focusing in on the battle for 4th position. Chuck Sweeney and Dave Phillips. Dave Phillips started 3rd. He's trying to hold on to a top 5 of his best finish of the year. 4th place would be it if he's able to hold off Chuck Sweeney, who's won 2 races already this year in that number 75 machine. So Phillips, the second, trying to hold on for his second top 5 of the year if he can do that over Chuck Sweeney. 3 to go at Darlington.
3 to go in the last couple of laps. Sweeney's been a little bit faster. He's able to make the run in 1 and 2 a lot better than Phillips in the 89. But the problem is 3 and 4, that seems to be the trouble spot. If you're good in 1 and 2, you're not as good in 3 and 4. And that's kind of what's plaguing the 75 machine of Sweeney as they're coming through 3 and 4 now. It just looks like Phillips is able to go up to the wall a little bit sooner and get back into the throttle quicker than the 75 machine. This time around, Chuck Sweeney, he was able to pull in a little bit, but only 300ths, Jared.
not going to do it. And looking at that gap between Helm and Bartel, that is down to 2 seconds now. As Jason Maines is going to take the white flag at Darlington. So final lap for Jason Maines, and we got to give this guy his due. He has been outstanding in a lot of races this year. He's also had got caught up in some issues. He's also had some bad races, but he has yet to win a race this year in the number 1 machine, Jason Maines, putting it down right now tonight. He started back in 6th place. He dropped his low back as 11th, but coming off turn number 4 for the final time, Jason Maines and the Elliott Sadler Esports number 1 machine will grab the victory at Darlington. Let's focus in on our 2nd place battle. Brian Helm is gonna barely hold off TJ Bartel. That gap got to a 2nd, but not much more. And Brian Helm will come home 2nd, Bartel 3rd. Dave Phillips is going to hold off Chuck Sweeting to the line. Yes, he does, for 4th place. And then Schmalmenberg in 6th. Looking further back, Bernard Persson to 7th, holds off his teammate Jason Spear. Poliski goes home 9th place. And then Terrell and Jameson all finished 1 lap down there at the end. What a job by Jason Maines tonight, Chris. He had the best long run speed out of everybody.
Best long run speed, and that mattered at a track like Darlington when, Jared, we didn't have any cautions here. This track, you and I talked about it, we saw guys in practice that we thought would certainly cause cautions, or at least I did, and still did not have it because of how big this track is in 1 and 2. Even the contact between Rachel Hunt, Chris Stouffer, and Dean Doucet did not bring out a caution. They kept the cars pointed in the right direction, and that really set the tone for their race here. And really, just seeing how these drivers ran this track, I was impressed, Jared. I mean, I would have never thought we could have went green flag from start to finish here at Darlington. But once again, I'm surprised by these drivers in this league.
What a race here tonight. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to hear from our top 3 finishers, including a first-time winner and another first-time podium finisher here tonight here at Darlington. And then we'll be back to wrap up the action and take a look at next week's race here at Wind Tunnel Racing at Pocono Raceway. We'll be back in a few seconds. Welcome back to Darlington Raceway, where Jason Maines has grabbed his first victory of the year in dominating fashion in a way, Chris. I mean, Brian Helm might have led the most laps, but Jason Maines kind of felt like he had control of this whole race the whole entire time.
Absolutely. Strategy was in play here tonight for Jason Maines. Clearly had the long run car to beat here. Didn't have the fastest lap of the race. Never ran in the 29s like Brian Helm did, but unfortunately Helm not able to keep that car managed here tonight as he got up into the wall several different times. Made it all that more difficult to be able to keep Maines behind him and falls victim to the lady in black tonight.
You see the results there on screen. Let's take a look at the points championship. As we hypothesize, the gap is down to unofficially 22 points, but I believe it's going to be 1 points officially. I don't think that the bonus points are in there right now. So a very tight championship battle. Dean Doucet falls back just a little bit. Chuck Sweeting gained some ground on those guys with his solid fifth place finish here tonight. Couldn't quite get the extra point to get even closer. Jason Spear and Burt Wilson both move up as Tim Billis was not here tonight. He drops to 7th. TJ Bartell up 6th into the top 10. David Phillips up 7 into the top 10. Rachel Hunt, Vrooman all gained some spots. Darren Bruce with a tough night dropping 3. Then Jamison and Stouffer and James Torrey round out your top 15 here tonight at Darlington in after the points are all settled. But it belongs to Jason Maines tonight. But Chris, you look at this race, it had a lot of different ebbs and flows, but I think the biggest turning point of this race, Dean Doucet getting in the wall, getting into Rachel Hunt, those two making contact, couldn't no fault assessed there in that accident, and then Chris Stouffer also collected.
Yeah, certainly a tough race for Dean Doucet as he was able to finally bring the car home, but not anywhere near where he would wanted to finish. Finishes 14th here tonight, loses a little position in the championship race, but don't count him out yet. We've seen just how difficult these drivers are and how resilient they are. I mean, it's taking everyone until almost the last couple of races here to be able to catch Person, but now you can actually see there's a little bit of hope for those drivers in the second, third, fourth position in points now to get up there and get to Bernard Person, make this thing a little bit more interesting towards the end of the season.
Pocono, Nashville Superspeedway, and Atlanta, the final races of the year for Wind Tunnel Racing. You'll see it all on Wind Tunnel TV. But Chris, I believe you have caught up with our third place finisher, his first podium of the year, Mr. TJ Bartell.
That I have. TJ Bartell has finished 4th 3 times in this league, but not tonight. He best that finish with 3rd place. TJ, fastest man on the track with the best lap time of 29.814. What did it take to get this number 80 machine up into this podium position tonight at a very hard fought Lady in Black?
I don't know. I just kind of stuck with the car. All during practice all week long, it felt different than it did in the race. It just got so tight on that first run. It was just so plowing tight. I was just giving up a bunch of times. So I made an air pressure adjustment on the pit stop, and then I just kind of took it easy and just tried to take it as easy going into the corners as I could, and it was a lot better on the second run.
Certainly the fall off here at Darlington is a huge issue, and we saw it there play into this race. Was it something that you were worried about coming into the race, starting second, that you really needed to kind of be patient with these tires to make them last to the end of the run?
Well, I know how Darlington is, and it usually suits my driving style pretty good with the fall off and just kind of racing the track. And I felt confident in that, but the first run, I was just like, oh my God, I'm in real trouble here because it just wouldn't turn. It felt like I was having to stop in the middle of 3 and 4 just to get it pointed to go back down the front stretch.
There on that last run, it seemed like you were a little bit quicker than Brian Helm, but weren't able to quite get up to him. Well, second and a half between you and Helm. What was it going to take to be able to get up there and fight for that second position?
As loose as Brian was and as much ground as I gained on him with the adjustments I made to my car and how I was driving it a little bit better, I think if I had another 5 or 10 laps, I could have caught him. Passing him's another thing, but I was encouraged that I was catching him, though. It kind of made me feel good that, I made a change that worked.
Absolutely. Bringing it home third here tonight. Is there anyone you'd like to thank? Any sponsors, friends, family watching back home that helps get you to and from the virtual track each week?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you and Jared in the booth, Wind Tunnel TV. You guys do an awesome job. It's always cool to watch these races, and it's just really neat to do. And Dean and Wind Tunnel Racing, they've got a great league here. Such a competitive field. There's just so many good drivers here, and they all do such a great job. It's a pleasure to race with them. I'd like to thank my wife for putting up with me doing this. I'd like to thank Bartell, Mobile Detailing and Pressure Washing. And I'd like to thank Pay to Win Setups for what they do for our series. And hopefully this is a good momentum builder for us going forward.
Absolutely. Looking ahead to next week, you're going to Pocono. What can we expect out of this 80 crew?
Well, I think, we're going to keep doing what we've been doing. The team, Stingray Racing, Dean and me, and have been working really hard on the setups, and the other guys, Bobby Terrell's new to our team. Darren Bruce has helped out a lot with it, and I can't forget Brad Patterson. Those guys really make a big difference in a good team effort trying to put faster cars and cars that we know are going to be good on a long run, because you don't think you're going to get cautions here because we don't have them very often. So you got to plan on a balanced car.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be watching next week. See if you can best your finish here tonight of third, get up in that top 2 positions. Best of luck, buddy. We'll watch you next week at Pocono.
Thanks, Chris.
And Jared, I believe you've caught up with the second place driver, a broken-hearted Brian Helm.
Yeah, I'm down here on the pit wall sitting next to Brian Helm. Brian, you finished some really strong races at Darlington here before, but once again, you come up one position short. Brian Helm, you got your ears on. So I don't think we got Brian Helm right now. So we'll try to come back and get him in a little bit here, but we don't want to hold up the winner at all here, Chris. So we're going to go ahead and bring in our race winner. I believe you're down in victory lane with Jason Maines.
I certainly have. I've caught up with Jason, who finished 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, but never first until tonight. Jason, take us through your race here tonight and how you were able to capture the victory.
Well, I think, I was just telling TJ I'd never run the B car here, but I'd run, I think it was 5 of the full length races in the A car this past year. So I figured in the race, I knew running hard would be, if you did that, you were going to pay if this thing went green. And that's what it came down to. The team, this is our pro setup from the Contender Series. I think we won that race. And there's thousands of laps on this setup to get it where it was at. But, I'm not talented enough to run early, run hard, and not, mess it up. And like I told Rachel, who was behind me for a long time, I said, don't run hard. Let them burn their stuff up. This race goes 25 laps green. They're going to fall back to us. And they did. So, and that's what it came down to, tire conservation and driving with the throttle.
Absolutely, and definitely the best of the bunch here tonight, leading 24 laps going into this race. The strategy, long run here, did you expect that we'd have a caution-free race at Darlington?
Honestly, I didn't, and that's what had me concerned. I normally screwed up on pit road. That was my biggest fear, is I was going to give it away on pit road. And then the strategy, I knew Brian was really fast. Once I got to second, I was running like 4/10 of a lap faster, and I got to him and passed him. I said, well, I was trying to keep an eye on if he pits, and I'm like, okay, well, I got long run speed on him. Do I undercut him and give him the tire advantage? And I'm like, that was the thing. And I said, okay, now I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and let him pit, because I knew he had short run speed, get that time off of his tires. And then because he'd fall off so bad at the end, I figured that would be even more of an advantage to me when I had tires, fresher tires than they did. And it was tight racing. I went back and looked at a replay, several times, and he was on the outside. I didn't think I touched him, and I knew he was already tight loose, his car was already, on edge. So he tried to rim ride the outside and he got into the wall, but I know I didn't touch him. And he had done that like 3 laps before, and I caught up to him and he hit the wall, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna end up running the back of him and kill my nose. So I just bided my time.
Absolutely, and looking at this car, the number 1 machine here, didn't look like there was any damage on it before you crossed the line there.
Yeah, now I think I may have barely scraped it, getting ready to turn into the corner. But that's what I was telling Rachel. I tell everybody this: you don't race anybody here. That's you race the track. If you race everybody, first of all, you're going to melt your tires. And it's short run gain, long run lose, and so that's why I just find I call it my happy spot, and I just ride there. And a track like this, for me, I'm not a hot lapper, never have been. And so that benefits me when people have to I have to back up the entries. It benefits me to the people that, like to hot lap, because they're going to burn the tires off. So, and like I said, I ran 5 of those full length races. I think, what are those things, Darlington, 300 or 400 laps. It was like 4 hours each, and that taught me a lot of throttle control. And when the tires fall off, you feel like you're running a snail through the corner. And if you get too aggressive, you shove the nose or you snap the rear around. So Just that, I think that experience helped me tonight.
Absolutely. And a couple other things. First off, you finish the race and you go to do your burnout, and I'd be remiss to ask, did Chad Knaus tell you to put that thing in the wall so it passed
Yeah.
tech inspection?
That just shows you how untalented I am. I can't even do a burnout without hitting the wall. But yeah, like I said, you don't really know what these guys in here are so good, and they put in so much time. Like I said, I jumped on 10 minutes before the race tonight. I didn't even feel like racing. I don't feel that well. And all the credit goes out to Elliott Sadler Esports. I mean, they're the ones that put the time in the car. If they got in this car, they go out there and run the short run speed with it. I just can't do that. So I give all the credit to them. Very fortunate to be part of that team, and paid off tonight.
Absolutely. While you're mentioning sponsors, anyone else you'd like to give a shout out to? Any family, friends, anyone watching that helps gets this number one to and from the virtual track each week?
Well, we got to thank our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. That's what it's all about, anyway. Elliott Sadler Esports, the whole group, Low Line Racing, partnership with us, and it's amazing. Got to thank Lennox Industries and Bradley Mechanical. Like I said, they've been sponsors of mine for 20 some years, so it's fabulous to have them on board.
Absolutely. Next week, going into the Pocono race, you have now cut the lead in the championship points down to 21 over, I believe unofficially, to Bernard Person. What can we expect out of this one bunch when we head to Pocono next week?
Honestly, I don't know. I haven't run the beat car there either. So I'm doing some truck stuff now. And we found some speed in that. Our team, and I'm doing a lot of adjusting and letting the guys do the testing, but I'll have to see. I've never done any laps there. Last week was a complete embarrassment in the at Las Vegas race. That is the most ill-handling, worst car I've ever driven in my life. To come out of 13th was a blessing. I think I had 26% left on my right front tire after that race, so it was terrible. So to come back and win was great. Anything will be better than Vegas, and Pocono's going to be a little bit of a strategy run too. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely. We'll be watching next week, and congrats again on the win.
I appreciate you guys putting on and Dean putting on the race. So it's a lot of fun.
And Jared, you heard it right there. Had never done any laps in this car, but came in here and just knew the experience, the seat time from other vehicles, that he needed to just relax and be able to make this thing work on the long run. He certainly did it and made for an interesting race here tonight.
Yeah, and you talked about in the middle of the race, Chris, when we went on board, just how you could tell he was relaxed. I mean, the wheel wasn't moving much. Brian Helm was all over the wheel, and you could just tell that Jason Maines was in his, what he called his calm zone, I think is what he said. So it's going to be great. But, Chris, we're heading to Pocono next week, and then we have Nashville Super Speedway and Atlanta to finish the season out. Jason Maines 22 back, Dean Doucet about 36 back. What can we expect? How are you feeling going into these last few races? Do you have a clue of who, how this championship's going to play out there?
I believe it was 2 weeks ago I said that Bernard Person was going to be the person to beat. Well, if anyone's going to beat him, I believe it's going to be Jason Maines. They're going to put on a good show going forward in the rest of this race. It's not counting out Dean Doucet or anyone else outside of that top two positions there, but it's going to be that much harder. At this point, Jared, it's no longer about whether or not you have a good race. It's about whether or not you have a good race and the people that you're racing in the championship points have a bad race. You saw it here tonight, Dean Doucet losing ground to the top two, and all that is what has to happen if you're going to be able to get up there and battle these guys. But if you're third, fourth, fifth on back in points, you need the top two to severely have bad races. I don't mean run just outside the top 10. They have to finish outside the top 15, outside the top 20, Jared, for you to be able to get up there and make this interesting and have a shot really at the playoffs. But it's really right now, I believe, down between Bernard Person, Jason Maines for this championship.
Well, it's going to be interesting. We'll have all that coverage here on Wind Tunnel TV. You don't want to miss it. We'll have all the action starting next Thursday from Pocono Speedway, 9 p.m. Have all the coverage on Wind Tunnel TV, but that's not it. We'll have Kicking Asphalt tomorrow night as their season continues on tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern with myself and Dean Doucet in the booth. But that's going to do it for tonight. For Wind Tunnel Racing, for Darlington Speedway, for Chris Spear, I'm Jared Carr. We'll see you guys out on the track.